Hi, I'm Bisma, and you're listening to The Other C Word, a podcast about all things cancer from a stage 4 breast cancer warrior. We cover health and wellness, mind, body, and soul. Plan to leave each episode with hopefully some new insights and inspiration. Let's get into this week's episode. Hey everyone, welcome back to another season of The Other C Word. I'm so excited to be back here with you guys. I took a nice little break between season 3 and now season 4. And what I wanted to do for this first episode is that on my socials, on Instagram, I had put up a few different polls. And so I wanted you guys to send in all of your questions, topics, different things you wanted me to cover. And this episode is going to be me basically doing a Q&A and going through them. So I hope you like it and message me if you do enjoy the episode and I will do more like this. All right, let's get into the questions. So the first one is Ivormectin. Does it really get rid of cancer? Okay, so let's talk about this because it comes up a lot. Ivormectin has been studied in labs and some early research models for its potential anti-cancer effects, but it's not at a place where it's proven to cure cancer in humans. That said, I know that many people, many patients, especially those with limited options, are looking into alternative therapies. My take is that you should always discuss it with your oncology team, especially if you're on treatment, to see if there's any known interactions with your current treatment. So I think it's great to be curious, do your research, but definitely be safe. I personally have not used ivermectin. All right, the next one. Skincare for baddies in their hormone disruption therapy era. Okay, I love this phrasing, skincare for baddies. That's the energy we need. Hormone therapy can definitely dry out your skin. It makes it more sensitive and it also accelerates aging. My go-to tips and things that have worked for me is using products which are gentle. So gentle cleansers, hydrating a lot. So things like hyaluronic acid, ceramides, and I think it's always best to go fragrance-free. Fragrances also are known to disrupt your skin barrier. And I've really swapped to a lot of clean brands. So things like Ilia, Juice Beauty, those are two of my favorites. And also SPF is super important. Your skin is healing from the inside out. So definitely protect it from the sun. Okay, next one. What happens after a biopsy? What's the process post-diagnosis? Okay, so after your biopsy confirms the cancer, things move really fast. You'll typically get imaging done, an MRI, a CT, a PET, more blood work, and then you'll meet with your oncology team. So if it's breast cancer that you have, you'll hear terms like ER/PR positive, ER/PR negative, HER2 positive, HER2 negative, the grade, the stage. It's all really overwhelming. I definitely recommend bringing a notebook with you or use your phone, take notes. That first treatment plan that you're going to be on is crucial. So ask all of your questions. Even if they seem silly or dumb in your head, you have to do it. Okay, the next one. How to deal with friends and family who aren't supportive during cancer. Okay, so this one hits deep. I had people that definitely said a lot of the wrong things or avoid me altogether. It's really hurtful. But what helped is that letting go of expectations and focusing on the people who did show up for me. And sometimes it's not your oldest friends, it's new friends or actually fellow patients. I also started setting boundaries. I think protecting your peace is super important. And people feeling discomfortable or uncomfortable with what you're expressing or showing is not your responsibility. Okay, the next one. How to live with hormone therapy side effects and choosing clean products. As we said, so hormone therapy or endocrine therapy can really have dramatic effects on you. So side effects wise, hot flashes, brain fog, mood swings, all those things are super common and very natural to happen when you go into these hormone therapy treatments. The main ways that I've actually managed my side effects from those are with lifestyle changes. So eating a keto diet, doing intermittent fasting, red light therapy, sauna, exercise, and sleep, I think are probably the most important ones that have made an impact for me. And also looking for clean products. So whether it's like skin, makeup, household products, look at the EWG website. They also have an app called Healthy Living, and find products on there that are rated as low hazard. And you want to avoid products that have endocrine disruptors in them, like parabens and phthalates. I think start with your deodorant and makeup. I think those are the two biggest bang for your buck items. And you'll be shocked at like how many clean product swaps there are out there actually. All right, next question. Juicing, yay or nay? I've heard so much, but I'm not sure. So juicing can sound like the holy grail. And I know there's a lot of influences out there that really hype up juicing, but I think it depends. I think a green juice, for example, can be packed with nutrients, but it's also often loaded with a lot of sugar. So if you end up adding things like apples, bananas, carrots in there, you're going to get a lot of sugar in there. For cancer recovery, my focus is on blood sugar stability. So if I do juice, it's in moderation and I pair it with a fat or protein. And I usually end up like eating my greens more than juicing them. So I'll have salads. I also prefer smoothies over juices because you get the fiber component if you do a smoothie versus juicing, which eliminates all the fiber. All right, and then we have supplements and teas that are safe during chemo. What should we avoid? Okay, I love this question. Some herbs and supplements can definitely interfere with chemo. So things like turmeric, high dose antioxidants. You have to clear your supplement list with your oncologist or a cancer nutritionist. Teas like ginger, peppermint, chamomile are generally safe and helpful. But if you're having something else, I would definitely check in with your oncology team first. Okay, next one. What's something you wish someone told you right after your diagnosis? Okay. I would say that it's okay not to understand everything right away. I think that would have been really helpful to know up front. You don't have to be a perfect patient. You're allowed to cry, to vent, to be confused, to get angry. But also, I think a really important thing is that you need to get organized. So one of the biggest things I did like day one was that I made like a physical folder for my labs and all my treatment notes. And it was really nice to have everything in one concise place. So even if you like to do things digitally, then just make a folder on your computer and save everything in one place. I remember people telling me that this is going to be really hard, but you're stronger than you think. And it didn't really set in those beginning days after the diagnosis. But if I were to look back at myself and talk to myself day one, I would say that you're going to get through this. It's going to be okay. All right. Then we have, do you think cancer can be prevented? Ooh, that's a good question. So not all cancer, no. I think things like genetics, environment, random mutations, some of it truly is out of our hands. But I think there's a lot that we can influence. So things like metabolic health, inflammation, toxins, hormone balance. I think prevention is about stacking the odds in your favor. And if you've already had cancer, that work matters even more than if you're just trying to prevent it in the first place. All right, next we've got, what is your skincare routine now? Obsessed with this question. I'm in my clean girl, hormone conscious era, so I use a gentle cleanser. I'm currently using one by Solwasu right now. A hyaluronic acid serum, a vitamin C serum in the morning, and then I do a sleep mask at night. Dr. Jart's overnight sleep mask. I'm obsessed with it. I avoid using chemical SPF and I use zinc-based physical sunscreens. For makeup, I love Ilia. Tower 28 is also a great brand. And RMS Beauty is also a really good brand. I always read the ingredient labels now, especially for anything going on my face daily, and especially stuff that I'm putting on in the morning that's going to stay there all day. All right, next we have, can I still drink alcohol? Okay, honestly, I think it should be very limited. Alcohol is a known carcinogen and it can impact your hormone levels. It also impacts your liver detox and your sleep. That being said, if you are going to drink, I would make it occasional. Choose low tox options. And if you do drink, don't beat yourself up about it. Okay, next. So we've got, how do you feel about Fenbendazil or dog dewormers? This has been all over Instagram and TikTok. Some patients with terminal diagnosis have tried Fenbendazil, I'm probably saying that wrong, and reported success. But there's no real clinical evidence yet. I don't think it's a replacement for treatment. I totally get the curiosity and drive to try something like this, especially when you feel like you're running out of options. But I always recommend that if you are going to do something like this, to work with a functional oncologist and get their take on it. Okay, we've got, what is the metabolic approach to cancer? So the idea here is that cancer, it's not just a genetic disease, but it's also a metabolic disease, one that's driven by things like sugar, inflammation, and a dysfunction of your mitochondria. So therapies like keto, fasting, red light, hyperbaric oxygen, they all fall under this metabolic therapy umbrella. I've definitely leaned heavily into this model, and I feel like it gives me a lot of my power back. And also, I've been able to remain stable for 14 months. And I do think a lot of that reason could be attributed to following this metabolic approach to cancer. All right, we've got a question here. How do you manage the mental toll of all of this? So I think mindset is almost everything. Some days I'm, deeply spiritual and grounded. Other days I'm crying in the shower or while I'm driving somewhere. I try to meditate. I try to journal, do breath work. I also let myself be sad in those moments. And I also talk to people who get it, other survivors, other thrivers. And I think that's been huge. Feeling seen can feel so healing. Okay, this is a good one. Do you still eat fruit on keto? Kind of. And it's very strategic. So I stick to low glycemic fruit like blackberries, raspberries, and I watch portions. So I might do a quarter of a banana in a smoothie once a week. That's a lot of sugar already as it is. And so I don't have things like bananas. If I'm having berries, I can probably get by with like 10 to 12 at a time, but it's not an everyday thing, and it's definitely not an every meal thing. I think for me, it's all about balance and keeping my glucose stable, especially since I am aiming for therapeutic ketosis to support healing. Okay, here's another one that's related to that. Can you explain what GKI is? So yes, GKI stands for glucose ketone index. It's a way to measure how deep you are in ketosis. So you take your ketone number, your value, if you can measure them at home using a keto mojo meter. You take your ketone number and you times it by 18, and then you take your glucose number and you divide it by that number. And that ends up being your GKI. For me personally, my goal for my GKI is to keep it under 1 for as many hours as possible in a day. I've heard anything between like a 1 and a 2 is still considered therapeutic. And it's really difficult to get there. It's definitely not for everyone. But for me, it's been a huge part of my protocol. Okay, got another one on beauty. What beauty products are the most toxic? That's a good one. I would say deodorant, foundation, and sunscreen are the biggest offenders because they sit on your skin all day long. You want to look out for parabens, phthalates, and things that say fragrance. I always say start with the stuff that you use daily and then work your way from there. You don't have to overhaul your entire skincare routine overnight. And your skin definitely absorbs what you put on it. So the stuff that you're putting on that's going to be there all day, I would definitely start there and focus on that. Okay, this is about scans. How do you deal with scanxiety? Okay, if you don't know what scanxiety is, that's nice. But the rest of us who get scans regularly, it's very much a real thing, like scan anxiety. For me, I don't know if it's like a tip necessarily, but I let myself spiral, and it helps to release and get that out. I don't stop myself from feeling the emotions that are coming up. And then I am on anxiety medication, so I take that. I do a lot of breathing exercises, a lot of journaling, talking to friends. I also write down a list of things I can control, and I focus on that. And I try to live my life every day in a way that's healing so that when it is time for scans, it's not like you're pulling an all-nighter to get the right scan results. It's work that I've been doing all along. And I think also leaving it up to God and knowing that, you've done the best that you can do. And also knowing that if a scan doesn't go the way that I hope, that I just, remind myself that I've been through this before. I've been through worse before, and I'll have to do it again. Okay. This one is, what keeps you going? That's such a great question. I would say purpose. I think this podcast is one of the factors that gives me purpose. I think the social media and the DMs I get from people saying that they feel less alone by what I'm sharing, I think that's really given me purpose. I think about my future self. I picture her being healthy, strong, and glowing, and I'm fighting for her, and I'm fighting for all of us that are walking on this road together right now. Okay, this is a really good question. How do you get back to feeling like your old self? This one's been tough for me. I think the short answer is that you don't. So you don't entirely get back to your old self. I think cancer changes you physically, emotionally, spiritually. But what you can do is rebuild and maybe even build something better. I feel like I've started to design a life that I want to live. It's slower, it's softer, it's more aligned. And I feel like that future version of me, she might not be the old me, but she's definitely more the real me, the person that I want to be. All right, next we've got what's a typical day of food for you? So I follow a therapeutic keto plan and I do intermittent fasting. So I fast until about 4 p.m. and then I'll usually break my fast with a smoothie with protein powder, almond milk, nut butter, some cacao. And then I do dinner around like 7:30. And that's usually chicken or salmon with like a big bowl of like steamed vegetables and olive oil. Sometimes I'll finish with like a chia pudding, maybe some walnuts or berries if I'm feeling like it. It just kind of depends how my glucose and how my ketones are running that day. Okay, this question is, what treatment am I on currently? So right now I'm on this medication called olaparib. It's a PARP inhibitor. It's used for people that have a BRCA2 mutation, which I do. It works by preventing cancer cells from repairing their DNA, which helps slow or stop their growth, hopefully. It's a targeted oral therapy. There's no IV drips, no hospital time. Which takes us into the next question. Have I had chemo, radiation, or surgery? I haven't had chemo or radiation. For hormone positive metastatic, which is stage 4 breast cancer, the first line of treatment is usually a targeted oral therapy like a CDK4/6 inhibitor or a PARP inhibitor that I'm on now. That said, I am having surgery soon. I'm having a double mastectomy and reconstruction done. And I'll probably have had it done by the time this episode drops. So check my Instagram if you want to follow along and see how my journey is going. All right, the next one is, what are your thoughts on mammograms and early detection? So for me, I was 35 years old when I got diagnosed and I'd never had a mammogram before. I personally definitely think that we need to be talking about breast health way earlier than the age of 40, especially if you have dense breasts or a family history. So I'm definitely a huge advocate for early detection and knowing your body. If something feels off, definitely push to get a mammogram done. Don't wait for the screening guideline of age 40 to wait around for that. All right, the next one is career work related. Can you work or have a career with stage 4 cancer? I think absolutely, but I think it does have to be on your terms. I've recently left my career in finance and I'm building my coaching business and I pour a lot into my podcast here, but I also rest and I, take a nap or I say no when I need to. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. You can live a full life with cancer. It just doesn't have to be at the expense of your health. And I think it's really important to have boundaries with work and with your career so that you are able to do all the things for your healing. Okay, we're getting close to the end, guys. There's a few more left. Do you ever feel scared of what's next? That's a good one. I would say, of course. I think anyone who's faced a life-threatening diagnosis carries fear with them going forward from there. I try not to live there. I've learned to focus on what I can control, my mindset, my habits, my joy, my food, my relationships. I feel like having fear is very natural and very real, but I also believe that my faith is super strong and I leave a lot of things up to God. And I also feel like my future here still feels like it's worth fighting for. So I'm going to do everything I can do. Okay, we've got, how do you navigate relationships while dealing with cancer? This one's hard. I think some relationships get stronger. I think some fade away and some just end up not surviving it. I've had to be super honest about what I need in a relationship, what I can't give, and where my energy goes. That's romantically, as well as friendships, as well as like family. I've also across the board have found myself craving more depth and intentionality in my relationships. And if it feels surface level or draining, I just can't do it. And I think that's okay. My circle has probably gotten smaller, but it's gotten more real. All right, we've got, do you believe in manifesting during cancer? That's a good one. 100%. I think that people might misunderstand what manifesting means though. I don't think that you can think cancer away, but I do believe that your thoughts, your beliefs, your emotions, they shape how your body responds to treatment. I definitely visualize healing. I like to speak life and healing energy over my body and tell it that it's already healed. For me, this whole concept of manifestation, it's a combination of like faith, science, self-talk. It's all working together. All right, this one I got a few times from a few different people. How do you handle weight changes from treatments? So for me, I actually ended up gaining about 30 pounds in my first year between steroids, hormone blockers, and then stress eating, like this ice cream addiction I had. And it wasn't until 30 pounds later that I realized what happened, and I hated it. But I didn't want to judge myself because I was going through such a, traumatic experience. And so my lens on trying to lose weight was more about healing than it was the number on the scale. And over the next year, I, figured out what was going to work for my body to help me lose weight and keep it off. Things like keto, fasting, strength training. I feel like I've been able to lose the weight in a way that feels sustainable and it's not a yo-yo diet. And I think for me, it's not about being thin or skinny. It's about feeling strong and stable again. Okay, sorry, there's actually more in here than I thought. Okay, next one. Do you ever feel disconnected from your old life? All the time. Sometimes it feels like I'm just like watching my past through a rearview mirror, my career, my social life, my old priorities, my old friends. But instead of trying to go back, I remind myself I've just outgrown that life. And this new one, it's more intentional, it's more honest, it's more aligned with who I actually am. And it's worth that grief of letting go of my old self. Okay, we've got a few on finances, then we'll wrap this up. How do you deal with the financial stress of cancer? It's a really good question, and it's actually come up a couple of times. Cancer is super expensive, period. So like even if you have health insurance, you've got copays, you've got medications, you've got scans sometimes that aren't covered, you've got lost income from maybe not working full time, supplements, food, clean products. It adds up super fast. And I think what's really helped is like having a budget. I know that might sound cheesy, but really just going through and doing an inventory of how you're actually spending your money. And I also think it's super important to ask for help if you need it. So using a platform like GoFundMe, because a lot of people do want to help when you're going through cancer and they just don't know how. And I think if you're looking for the help, then it doesn't hurt to ask. Okay, what's one expense you didn't expect to deal with cancer? That's a good question. I would say like just the cost of healing, like not the treatment part, the other healing you're doing outside of the hospital. So for me, that's been things like red light devices, my sauna sessions, fully organic food, clean beauty, supplements, clean household products, changing out all my pans to stainless steel. All these things that support recovery aren't covered by insurance, and it makes a huge difference in how I feel. So I think for me, I've started to prioritize investing in my wellness the way that I would, invest or pay for other things like clothes and traveling. Okay, this is a really good one. Should I feel guilty for asking for financial help? No, absolutely not. You're fighting for your life right now. This is not the time to suffer in silence or try to be a superhero. There's no awards given out to be like, I didn't ask for financial help. Your community, I'm sure, wants to support you. So whether that's through a GoFundMe or things like Meal Train or covering some bills, I don't think asking for help is weakness. It's being resourceful, and you deserve that during this time. Okay, this is the last one, I promise. Any tips on saving money while still staying healthy? Yes, I don't have a Costco membership, but I've heard great things about organic stuff at Costco. So check that out for things I've heard, like avocados are great there. Their frozen vegetables are great. Nuts. I also think cooking at home and doing batch cooking is great. If you're starting to like clean up your house and skincare and beauty, use the EWG Healthy Living app. You can find swaps to products that you can enter into there and find out clean options. So I think if you use those, that would feel really helpful. And don't feel pressure to do everything at once. If all you can do right now is like switch your deodorant or eat, organic food, that's still a lot of progress. All right, guys, that wraps it up. That was actually really fun to do, more than I expected. So thank you all so much for submitting your questions. And definitely reach out to me and let me know what you think of this episode. I would love to do more if you guys are interested. And we'll chat again. Thanks for listening to The Other C Word, hosted by Bisma. New episodes drop Mondays. Connect with me on socials at Bisma, and let's all learn, grow, and inspire each other.